So this is your average TV remote. You know, it fits comfortably in your hand, has a lot of buttons. If you drop it on the floor, you're going to see it. If you drop it on your couch cushion, you're going to be able to feel it. Just your everyday remote. This is an Apple TV remote. It's very small, it's very sleek. You drop it very easily. That wasn't even planned. It's got your minimal buttons that you need, but you know, it gets you around. But it's tiny and you can lose it really easily, like I did for a few months. And you can use the app on your phone, sure, but the app can become unsynced. And then you need the remote, which is lost. So I decided after I found this remote that I wanted to make my own Apple TV remote using CircuitPython. So what do you need to make an IR remote? Because that's how this remote is communicating with the Apple TV. It's just sending out IR signals through the LED that's probably inside here. Unfortunately, the Apple TV remote, you know, it's so locked down besides changing out the single cell battery that you can't get in here unless you basically destroy it, which I don't really feel like doing to my remote right now, although I'm very curious about what's inside. So what you can do though is gather the data that this IR remote is putting out with every button push. What you do is you set up a IR sensor connected to some sort of board. I'm using the M0 ecosystem from Adafruit. Adafruit has some example code on GitHub that I will link down below so that you can do it yourself as well. So I did all my testing with a Metro M0, but you can see inside here I have a Feather board, and that's what's powering this remote right now. So you basically set up the circuit, open up a serial monitor, and then with the code, it's basically decoding the IR values that you're sending. And so in the serial monitor, every time you press a button, it'll pop up all the data you just sent. And then you're going to save that data and import it into your code so that each time I press a button on here, it's sending the same data that is sent through this remote. So I press down, it goes down, I go right, it goes right, I go up, it goes up, just like that. So to send IR data, you need an infrared LED. That's what IR stands for. So you just put that up at the front, wire up all the buttons, and you're basically in business once you've decoded that data. And I'll have a full write-up on Hackster.io on exactly how you decode that data and how you store it, because you get into some fun things such as byte arrays and looking at the number of times you're sending the IR pulses and everything. So it gets really fun. Gets kind of intense, but it's easy enough to follow along that really anyone can make one as long as they decode the remote first. Now there is one thing with the Apple TV that I found with the remote, and it could be one of two things to explain this, but basically my hope for this project was that I'd be able to turn on the Apple TV, and by turn on I mean plug in, because the Apple TV does not have a power button. And it would instantly see this as an Apple TV remote. I would have decoded the data properly and it would just see it, which is how an IR remote would normally operate. But I did have to sync it up using the built-in thing that you sync up any IR remote. And there's one of two possibilities where that could be. It could be that there is some sort of extra hardware handshake that's happening when this remote is putting out IR data, which wouldn't surprise me with Apple because, you know, everything's very proprietary. And also when you look at the remote page, when you go to remotes, you can pair and unpair the Apple remote, which makes me think something else is happening with this hardware. The other possibility is I could have just decoded the IR values a bit incorrectly. Maybe that's why it's not seeing it right away. But as you can see, my registered remote is right down here. I called it CircuitPython, and it's working. And so now it remembers it every time I power everything off. And so I technically have a backup remote for this Apple TV, because when you lose remote access to this Apple TV, it basically becomes just a box that you can't do anything with. So I'm happy to at least have that now. And so I did a live stream demoing this entire project and building kind of the methodologies that go into it, and that's what a lot of the B-roll you've seen for this video has come from. So I'll link that down in the description if you want to go a little bit deeper into the processes for getting all this data. And of course I will also have the Hackster write-up as well, so you can make your own, either for the Apple TV, or maybe you have a Roku device and you want to try decoding that remote, or maybe you have a Blu-ray player, or anything really you can try to make your own home-brewed remote for. And now, as you know, I currently don't have really any sort of DIY fabrication materials, and this is just a jewelry box for a necklace that I had lying around. I just poked holes in where the buttons were. I just actually pushed on the lid of the box with the buttons so that I could see exactly where they were, poked holes through, and then same thing with the LED, just have a little cutout there. And the buttons, as you can see, have a bit of height to them, and that's so that when I close up the box, they stick up through. It gives it kind of a nice, clean look. And then I put some washi tape on the cover, kind of give it a nice colorful look as well. And then the whole thing's being powered by 2 cell batteries that are in a little plastic housing that's connected through the JST connector on the Feather M0 board. And this is just some soldered proto board that I did for the buttons. It has the ground line and then individual data lines for each button. But I think this is a pretty cool project. The fact that you can just make your own IR remote, and you don't have to use it for media center applications. You can also use it for controlling projects or anything like that as well. And it's just fun also exploring things like IR data, and actually scrolling through on the Apple TV right now reminds me that Tony D from Adafruit has an excellent live stream on CircuitPython and IR that really helped me to understand what was happening, and also gave me a better understanding too of using Serial to communicate with your M0 board for CircuitPython. So I'll link that down in the description, as well as along with the GitHub links from Adafruit that I use to base my code on. So yeah, a simple project on the surface, but it has a lot of back-end prep that you have to do, gathering all that data, decoding it properly, and then coding everything so that the buttons will trigger the proper IR commands. And it's a really fun project to explore, just to learn about different ways that electronics communicate with each other, and it has a bonus of also being useful in the real world and rather compact as well, but not too compact that you could lose it for literally months. But that's going to do it for this video. If you'd like to toss me a thumbs up, leave any questions or comments down below. As I said, resources are going to be down in the description to go a little bit deeper into this project. Find me on social media. Links are also down in the description. Really, the description is your hub for all information not covered in this video. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing for more content like this, and until next time, this has been Blitz City DIY.